Hello everyone, welcome to August's crystal reading. Interesting crystals that called to me today for this reading to see how the energies are going to go, how things are going to go potentially in August, because of course we always have free will. But it's interesting to see where the frequencies are going, you know, what the energy so far is telling us. And I was called today to black tourmaline, moss agate, carnelian, and citrine. And it's interesting because, I've been seeing the memes on Instagram, like what chaos and destruction is coming for August, alien invasion, whatever it might be. But when my initial hit, when I look at these crystals, I'm like, that actually feels kind of positive to me. Looking at the black tourmaline, initial hits, initial reads, one can think protection, but black tourmaline is also purification. And something I teach in my Pro Crystal Healer course is you can work with black tourmaline actually to open up, to bridge, to create very clear, clean channels to source and to higher guidance and protective and healing frequencies, because it is such a high frequency crystal itself. And so I'm wondering if some of that may come into the reading. Moss agate, growth. Moss agate is a crystal that promotes, stimulates, encourages growth. It's an abundance crystal. It's green, that green ray, that green frequency, which we so often also associate with healing. And the carnelian, now that's going to be interesting. It'll be interesting to see which message comes through from the carnelian, because carnelian is very empowering energy. It's very creative. It's very fiery. But carnelian is also creation. It's the creation and destruction and creation cycle, endings and beginnings, which is certainly something that we have been seeing patterning out in the past while. And then the citrine, to me immediately, that just comes across as sunshine. Really kind of nice, potentially nice, positive wrap up to the reading and what we're expecting this month. And another interesting thing that I'll point out is oftentimes, I have crystals of all sizes in my collection, or apothecary, if you will. I'm only a keeper. We can only ever be keepers of crystals because they will long outlive us. But the crystals that I was called to for today's reading, again, they're very small comparatively. These are not huge crystals, and the information that comes through to me in terms of that is immediately like, in the major and minor arcana in tarot, and how the major arcana is like big, epic, archetypal change and messages and energy and meanings, and the minor arcana tends to be less epic, less huge, less life-changing. It's more, the flavors and the elements and the twists and the information coming through. And so with the smaller crystals, I see this, whatever it is that they're bringing forth in terms of meaning today, I see that as being on, a similar scale. So something that is smaller, so not like epic, massive, disruption or change or whatever in terms of August, but more in terms of these are some of the energies that we're going to be seeing, some of the frequencies coming through nature, through the cosmos, that we can work with in this month. So let me tune into each one and just see what message comes through, what it has to say. So first I'm working with the black tourmaline. I do teach this, by the way, for any of you who are interested. You can go to my website on my academy. I have a certification course on crystal reading. Okay. Right, so immediately what's coming through from the black tourmaline is opening up, and I'm feeling this. It just went right up there. So this was as I expected. Opening a channel to grace. So there's an encouragement, and again, I'm not feeling this in any kind of like fearful or fearful way, but an encouragement to pray, an encouragement to connect with grace, to call on grace, whatever higher power you espouse, because of course we all have, or many of us in the crystal community anyway, have different systems of belief and religions. But this encouragement to pray, this encouragement to seek out a connection to grace, to your higher power, entering into that dialogue, that communication, and really specifically, purposefully, intentionally, heart-based, in alignment with the soul, speaking out that which you desire to see, desire to manifest, the help that you desire. Because what it's saying is, at this point in time especially, so much of our focus, so much of our consciousness, so much of our thinking, so much of our feeling being is trained very powerfully, I'm getting chills here, trained very powerfully on the negative, on the dark, on the fear. This is understandable. When you look out on the world and what's happening in the world right now, and people fighting brilliantly and courageously for their rights, and at the same time pandemic and all this stuff, and the news, which is horrible. I think we should all stop watching or find really clean channels of news that delivers truth, God forbid. But we're just so trained on the negative. And of course, this is where we're aligning our energy. This is where we're aligning our frequencies. This is where we're more likely to co-create. And so, the message from the black tourmaline is, it's understandable to have fears, but you have choice. So where do you choose to put your focus? On courage, love, what you wish to see, what you're wishing to align yourself with in terms of creating, both in terms of action, thought, energy, emotion. Where are you putting your divine sovereignty when it comes to your energy, your thinking, what you're expecting, what you're anticipating? It's really, really phenomenal when we start to train ourselves. It's not that we're ignoring truth. It's not that we're ignoring reality, but how we respond, how we choose to act, where and how we choose to move forward, in what direction, and what we seek to align with ourselves. Choice, 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 choice. And so again, this thing about prayer, connecting with, that higher guidance, that higher power, not feeling that you're mired in it alone, but also choosing light in a very real, very empowered, very courageous, and very truthful way to your soul. As deep down in your soul, there is no desire to create more negativity, fear, harm, pain, cruelty. Deep down in the soul, there is always that seed and that light of truth, and coming into alignment with that, and then from that place speaking to your higher power and having that dialogue. So that's the message this month in August, in terms of where we're aligning ourselves, because oftentimes we can be on this precipice of things getting worse, things getting better. How do we want to align ourselves? What are we seeking to see? Really becoming conscious of where you're putting your thoughts, your feelings, your energy. And again, not in terms of being in denial, pie in the sky. Very real. We always have choices. Where do you choose to be, and where do you choose, how do you choose to move forward? So now coming to the moss agate. Oh, this is a very different energy. Black tourmaline went up, this went down. So a deepening, a spreading of roots, a growing of the trunk. I see a tree. like a tree. Ooh, this is interesting. So the message coming through from Moss Agate is contraction and expansion. You know, there's contraction coming in some places, but there's expansion coming into others. And you can read this within the context of your own life and story or path at this time. But in order to, there's this reminder that in order to expand, in order to grow, this growth energy that I'm feeling coming in, there's a necessity to sustain it. You know, and there's this message about self-care coming through too, in terms of deepening, allowing those roots to grow. So grounding, taking care of yourselves, especially your physical health and your emotional self, your health. Our mental emotional health got rocked this year, and it's continuing to be, you know, rocked. And we have to be very careful that we're taking care of ourselves in that way in the next while. But there's the deepening and the grounding, and this is also about systems, having systems in place, structures of support. So whether it's you're looking to grow in your business, grow in your family, recover from shutdowns, reclaim your health, whatever it is, pursuing this, not just jumping into that higher idea, and certainly not answering to or obeying your fear, but approaching it purposefully, slowly, mindfully, grounded, making sure you have your foundation in place, that you are supported in whatever ways and needs you need to be supported. Because there is growth energy. There's definitely growth energy and potential coming into this month. And that could be anything. That could mean having a baby, you know. But the approach is slow and steady wins the race. Ground. So don't jump into, you know, starting anything too quickly, or, you know, just getting into the big idea, or, as I said, you know, answering to the fear. But again, that sense of alignment, in terms of where, how you want to grow, why, and then what is needed to support that growth, because the tree needs the trunk, the tree needs the roots, and the tree needs, you know, what's in the earth that the roots get to nourish and support the tree. So really approaching it from that mindset, you know, as a tree grows and everything is in place to support that. So definitely, you know, a joyful message in terms of growth energy coming in, but this reminder to do so with wisdom, so that it's sustained, so that it's grounded. So now coming into the Carnelian, as I said, this is going to be interesting. So the words right away, passion, but also purifying fire, that fire element. So the fire element, this is many things. Okay, so the fire element burns through blockages. It clears out old debris. It is also light in the darkness, coming back to that primal connection we have with fire and light in the darkness. It's protection. It's illumination. It is creation through force of destruction, but in a way that is mindful, that is purposeful, that is loving. So again, this is coming back to, at this point, you know, we've been going through this process. We've been receiving these messages in terms of shadow work, in terms of clearing through, unpacking, you know, things in our subconscious or unconscious, our shadow selves. Whether, you know, this applies to bias, you know, or fears, or limited thinking, or wounding, or whatever it might be that you've been called to work through in this past while. Now I feel like we're reaching a point, and of course we spiral through, right? So we'll be here again, you know, in our process. It's not like, oh, it's all done. But we are getting to a point where it's like, okay, there are some final things that you just need to burn through. You need to let go. You need to clear through. And of course, when we talk about letting go, we have to address the need, right? Why are we hanging on to the thing? It's just not a matter of like, oh, I'm all done. But like, what's the need? What's keeping me hanging on? This is the final thing that needs to face. Bringing light into the darkness of ourselves and also our world. But this is illumination. This is coming back into the radiance. This is rising back in, and not just focusing on what it is that's in the darkness that needs to be healed, reclaimed, resolved, reintegrated, or released, but also the radiance, focusing on the radiance, focusing on your radiance, your powers, your gifts, your talents, all the great things about you, the great things about the world. Again, this is about shifting the focus back to the radiance, the beauty, the incredibleness. There's been a lot of focus, not just with the virus, but also, what's wrong with humanity. And of course, we have to face these things. This is part of the healing process. But let's also remember there's great things. There's great people out there doing amazing, beautiful, wonderful things on behalf of ourselves, on behalf of the world, on behalf of nature. Let's claim that. Let's celebrate that, not just in others, but also in ourselves. And so it's an encouragement to reclaim this. Reclaim your inner fire and radiance. And then finally, we come into the citrine, the message from the citrine. And as I said, this feels like sunshine and bird song and sweet breezes. Just really, really lovely energy that's coming through this citrine today. And it's interesting because the message that I hear is listen to the song in your heart. And I'm a great believer in, the songs in our hearts, the songs that our soul wants to sing. And of course, that could be literal, but really what it's about is it's about joy. It's about joy. It's about finding some form of joy in your daily experience, in your world. And again, joy is so much about raising frequency, and especially as we're coming into August. We're in August. We're coming up to, the Lionsgate portal. People talk about that a lot, that opening up, that receiving of consciousness, that upgrade, the downloads that we receive. But what raises frequency the most is joy. And when we are in a higher frequency place, we are very, very powerful. And good change can happen quickly. We've seen how bad change can happen quickly, but good change can happen quickly too. And this is not, foo-foo-la-la talk and, jelly bean, it's all so cute and sweet. No, this is very real. Just as bad change can happen, so can good change. And again, this is coming back to where we are in alignment with our thoughts, our feelings, our choices, and how that is individual power as well as collective. We can make positive change in the world, and it is happening. And in some ways it's happening like a slow burn, but it is happening. Can we make more? And can we do it in a way that is joyful, that is bright, that is radiant? So these are some of the things that we are being encouraged to consider, and not just consider, but apply. And it's interesting, I was talking about the crystal sizes, and this one is much bigger than the other 3 crystals. So this carries greater weight and importance. Finding that joy, no matter your circumstance, no matter your story. And it's very easy to be like, yeah, right, whatever. Do you see what I'm dealing with? Do you see what it's happening out here? But it's like, yes, we can tap into these higher frequencies of joy, of light, of love, and still be warriors and still enact fantastic change in this world. And this is something that we're really being called to do and also to support. So again, read that however you choose to read that within the context of your own life, your own story. I hope that resonated for you in some way and was of service to you in some way. And so I thank you. I thank you for joining me in this work this month. And may you all be blessed. And let's come into alignment with some of those high frequency radiant gifts that we have.